About a week ago, I obtained some LSD in the form of sugar cubes and decided that I would trip on my birthday. I am fairly experienced with acid, having tripped at least 20 times in the past, and I have taken in excess of 5 hits on multiple occasions and have never had a bad trip. This night, I dosed 5 cubes at around 6 p.m., and I expected a fairly routine, intense, yet mellow trip. Around 6:30, I started to get intense body waves and slight visuals, and I knew that this was going to be a big one. I got on the computer and started talking to people until I decided that I couldn't pay attention with all the visuals I was getting, so I went upstairs to get myself in order. When I got up there, I was starting to get kind of panicky, because I felt like I was about to go somewhere I had never been before. So I rolled a joint with much difficulty, with the hopes of mellowing me out a bit. This was a bad idea because, with each hit, I began to lose more and more control until I felt like I was hanging by a thread. I was getting the most intense visuals of my life, but that was nothing compared to the intense mindfuck that was raping my brain. I felt like I was existing in snapshots where I would be alert for about 5 seconds, and then I would lose the next 5 seconds, only to return, having to make up for the time I had lost. If you've experienced it, you would know. I kept trying to think positive, but I could barely think at all, so it was a lost cause. I knew I had to get out of my house, so I called my friend and told her I was in the middle of a serious tweak and that I needed help. She said that I sounded completely out of it and that I kept blanking out and slurring my words. It took about 1.5 minutes for me to say a simple sentence. I barely remember even calling her. I went outside to wait, and as I was standing out in the cold, I could feel all these invisible hands touching and grabbing the back of my legs, and the ground looked like it was shaking and swaying like an earthquake. The only thing I could concentrate on were the cigarettes I kept smoking, which took as much focus as I could muster. I kept forgetting why I was outside, but all I knew was that I could not go back inside. I felt like I was going crazy and losing my mind. The only thing that kept me sane was the small amount of rationality I had in my mind, which kept telling me that it was only the effects of the drug. It didn't matter though. I wanted out. Finally, my friend arrived and helped me into her car. I kept thinking that it was a bad idea that I had called her and that she was going to try to hurt me. I just sunk into my seat and watched the surroundings as we drove. The town I have lived in all my life looked so unfamiliar and scary, and I felt like everything was closing in on me. She said she was going to pick up her boyfriend and asked if I would be okay in the car alone for a few moments. I said okay, and when she got out of the car, I looked at my watch. It said 9:20. While she was inside, I was seeing shadows in the street everywhere and kept seeing police lights that weren't really there. I kept expecting a SWAT team to come and pull me out of her car, and I knew that if that happened, I would be able to say nothing to protest because I could barely even think, let alone argue with some non-existent cops. After several minutes, I got the distinct feeling that I was getting really old, really fast. I looked at my watch again, thinking that I had been in my friend's car alone for at least an hour. My watch said 9:22. It had been only 2 minutes since she had left. This really freaked me out, and I put my hands over my ears, hoping that the mindfuck would go away. As soon as I did this, however, I heard a loud piercing scream-like sound in my left ear. This sound would switch to my right ear and back again, and did so until I took my hands off my ears. Finally, my friend returned with her boyfriend, and we left. Their return calmed me down a lot because it was comforting to listen to their normal conversation. It reassured me that reality still existed. We drove around for quite a while until I finally was in the state of mind where I was back in control. She dropped me off at home at around midnight, and I went inside. I was still tripping hard and getting intense visuals, but I had a much higher level of control. I finally went to bed at around 5 a.m. and woke up at around 1 p.m. feeling pretty much back to normal, except for some very minor lingering trails and the memory of an unforgettable night. I guess the moral of the story is never underestimate the power of acid. It can sneak up on you no matter how experienced you are, present you with a bad trip your first time or even your 50th. You never know. Be careful.